This is Tippo, and this is his story as an epileptic Newfoundland. At the time of this video, Tippo was about 3 years old. He had been an epileptic for maybe about 6 months and had been on phenobarb at that time. This was our first encounter with a really bad series of seizures. They started in the evening, and he just started having one after the other after the other. Because he's so big, and because it was well after office hours, it was difficult to figure out what to do with him. Finally, we were able to get a hold of the vet, and he said to take him to the emergency veterinary hospital in Poughkeepsie. This is the way he looked after he was stabilized. In IV, he was just slightly awake, and he was pretty well not any dog that could get up and go running around and playing at all. He also had a monitor on so that they could keep track of what was happening with his heart. The heart was the issue here because so much of the beating of the heart was so fast that it wouldn't have time for it to refill before the next beat. And if this continued on for too long, then he would not have enough blood circulation. And of course, without enough blood circulation, he would die. One of the things about the heart that people don't understand is that the heart itself gets its blood for its own nutrition between the beats. So if the beats are too fast, there's not enough time for the coronary arteries to refill, and the heart dies. And this is true whether it's with a person or with a dog. The EKGs, the tracing on an EKG, is essentially the same as it is on a human. Both have 4-chamber hearts, and both perform in much the same way electronically. This screen shows the tracing of his heart as it's beating. Each beat is a new complex, a new tracing, as you can see there as the scan goes across. It's made up of several different parts. The first upward tracing that you may see there is the electrical signal that tells the heart to beat. The next part is the QRS. This is electrically shows what's happening with the heart when it beats. Q, up to the top, then back down, and then back to baseline again. This is the actual beating of the heart. The next one is the T wave, which really is sort of a recycle. It gives the opportunity for the heart to recycle after it's done the beating. It has to get back to normal the way it is normally electronically. The length of time between the S wave, where the beating is done, and the beginning of the next QRS is a time when the coronary arteries in the heart fill and the heart receives its nutrition. And if this is too short or almost non-existent, then the heart can die, and of course the dog will die. Here you can see that he has a normal QRS and the heart is working normally. The pulse is at 90, which is good. You can also notice that it's not totally consistent that way, so he still has some cardiac problems right along with it. His rate is good, although they gave him medication to slow down his heart so that it would function properly. Here you have an example of the irregular beat he still has and why he needed the medication at that time. Here's a PVC that Tippo had. Means premature ventricular contraction, but it was an isolated one and it didn't upset me. Only when you start getting multiple ones in a row is it worth being concerned about. So Tippo was discharged on cardiac medications, which he's not on anymore. All he is on now is phenobarb and potassium bromide. And he's reasonably bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, except after he gets his phenobarb, he just acts a little drugged. But he's in good shape, all things considered. And if you listen to other stories, why, we consider ourselves very lucky.
Eat dinner. No ball. Eat your dinner.